Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about how LEGO screwed the pooch so badly that they have brought me out of my depression pit to come and make another video for you guys. I'll be doing another video talking about my actual life in the future at some point maybe. I don't want to set any dates, but things have been rough. Um, Again, that'll be a separate video. But I'm going to be talking about the Smart Brick. For those of you that don't know, LEGO are releasing a new feature called the LEGO Smart Brick, which is a new way to play with your LEGO. And it's pretty controversial in the sense that everyone seems to hate it, other than maybe a few. And I'm going to try and convince you to see it in a different way, hopefully, share my views on it. I don't think it's perfect. I definitely have some recommendations on how I would have implemented it if I was working at LEGO, and that'll be towards the end of the video. But first, let's just get into it. Let's just dive straight in. I got my notebook full of notes, and one of the first things that I've done is people saying that it's not LEGO. And I think LEGO are trying to evolve themselves. We've seen it for a while now. We've seen it with things like Nexo Nights, where you had to collect the Nexo shields and then it would let you play with a game. We had Hidden Side, which again, you had these like interactive LEGO sets where the play features would let you interact with the app. Not very well integrated with either of them. Nexo Nights was probably the better out of the two, but that could also be my personal nostalgia because I really like Nexo Nights. But this smart brick is something new. This isn't an app. I think there may be an app that goes alongside the smart brick that lets parents control the volume and things, but I think it is designed as just a brick that comes in your sets that lets you unlock more. And some of the things that it does is it lets you make sounds. It's a speaker, and people don't like it because it's adding prices to the set, and that again we'll be talking about later, but adding the price to the set for the sake of play, I mean, we've seen it a number of times. Big Figs are always inflating the set's price, specialized molds, and we've seen it a couple of times where certain features do add a little bit to the set, but I feel like this adds just a little bit too much. And again, we'll be talking about the prices a little bit later. People's argument against it is that you can just make the sounds with your voice. You can just say pew pew, meow with your spaceships. And to that, I don't disagree, obviously you can. With the sets behind me, you'll often find me going, ah, because, I have a mouth, I can make the voice. But not everyone wants to do that. I think it's an extra layer of play that kids will appreciate, some adults will appreciate. I think I may even appreciate it depending on how it's implemented. But that's just it, is it's not implemented very well. Whenever we look at the sets that have the smart brick attached, they take away from the look. The TIE Fighter is the most egregious version of this, where you can see there is a massive gap just in the back of the build for the smart brick to be placed. It's not good looking, it doesn't blend in if you've got the smart brick in there, but looks a bit weird without it. It just looks ugly. It looks incomplete. And I feel like this could have been solved had there been more room for the budget to improve the build, because we see it on the throne room set, where the build itself doesn't actually look too bad. And I don't mind the way that it's integrated into the throne room, where the build itself looks quite complete. There's a couple of ugly patches where you're meant to directly interact with the brick and the set, but otherwise it's fairly inconspicuous. It's no different to the regular play features that we've seen. This is Editing Kev talking now. I was on about things like this, where we can bust out the window and do the little trapdoor thing. Regular play features have this kind of thing. It's not an issue. But the price of the throne room is £140 for 962 pieces. That is ridiculous. And the same goes with the X-Wing. £80 for 581 pieces, and the TIE Fighter is £60 for 473 pieces. It's just too expensive. Like, the smart brick actively takes away from the look of the set, and takes away from the budget, and makes the set more expensive all in the same time. I wouldn't mind if it did one of them. If it made the set look a little bit ugly, but the price stayed within reason, or the budget of the set didn't seem affected, cool, carry on. If the set was slightly more expensive, but the set did look amazing, no play features very obvious at all, the integration's really seamless, again, probably wouldn't complain as much. But the fact that it does both negatives, unless it's a ridiculously overpriced set, says way too much about the way that it's implemented. I'll be talking about how this could be solved a little bit later on again, like I said, towards the end of this video. But I do want to touch on the figures, because with the Smart Brick you can interact not only with the build itself, but with the figures. They've got these displays on the back of the figures that let the Smart Brick know which figure is in front of it, and then ta-da, it's making a noise. I know with R2-D2, for example, you can scan the back of him and it will make a little chirping R2-D2 noise. But the figures are massively ugly. The figures, R2-D2 in particular, has just a massive red tile on his back. It's the first R2-D2 with a rotating head. No one's going to want it because he looks ugly. Can't we just get the brick scanning the back of the figure? Because all of the printing should be unique anyway. Why do we have to have it so the figure's look is deteriorated for this play feature? Why do we have to have it where the set's build is deteriorated for this play feature? Why do we have to so the set's price is taken back or taken forward because of the price of this Smart Brick? Another issue that I have with it is more of a personal issue, but it's only in Star Wars sets. Specifically 3. There's the Throne Room, the TIE Fighter, and the X-Wing. Why isn't it in other themes? I get it that they wanted to soft launch it with a popular theme so more people would be incentivized to buy it. The Star Wars thing is more of a personal issue because I've fallen out of touch with Star Wars and consequently LEGO Star Wars in general. But I think having it in these sets would have been amazing. For example, if I take the Oscorp Tower, imagine a feature where you got this little opening thing with the Green Goblin revealing himself. Have it so when you activate this play feature, you have a Smart Brick next to it that scans a little QR code, and it does like a Green Goblin laugh, or like a piston hissing noise, or anything like that. With the Ninjago display, we could have it so you put the QR code, the brick, in this little section down here, and it'll play the Weekend Whip, or even just the Ninjago Overture, or whatever it's called, the score. These are all features that could have been implemented alongside the regular play features of the set. You could still have this wall being destroyed. You could still have the web swinging of this and the Mysterio thing. Like we don't have to have it one or the other. We could have Smart Brick and regular Lego Play combined and not have it feel so disjointed. I mentioned the Smart Brick coming with an app, potentially, at least from my understanding. The app, I don't mind, because you don't need the app to play with it. It's more just a way to control it from a parent's side, so you can control the volume, so if the brick is getting a little bit loud, a little bit annoying from your children, you can turn it down, or even have it with just the lights, which I haven't mentioned. The light brick does come with lights. It feels like a slightly upgraded version of the old light brick, except the Smart Brick has more lights. It's got different coloured lights, they flash, they can stay solid, I believe, and the Smart Brick can interact with each other from what I understand as well. I saw one demonstration where someone had the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter, and they were flying them around pretending to shoot each other, and eventually one took enough damage from the Smart Brick and registered that it had been destroyed, and that was a really cool interaction that I think could unlock more play for children. But it's just a shame that the builds have suffered so much because of that. If I was to design the Smart Brick, if I was the one implementing this new feature into LEGO, I wouldn't implement it into any theme. It would be its own set. It would be a Smart Brick, maybe 2 Smart Bricks, the charger, and that is it. That way, it's an option for the set. For the TIE Fighter, it's the one that I'm going to talk about the most because it's the one that I know the most about. But essentially, the TIE Fighter, price probably wouldn't change. Maybe it'd be a bit cheaper, just for the sake of everyone's sanity, because £60 for that build is not on. But £60 for that build, but improved, where instead of a massive gap in the back of the TIE Fighter, the back is completely filled in. However, the flap, like there's a flap there that can open up and reveal access to the smart brick, or maybe like a shelf that can be pulled out and put back in. Super easy things that LEGO could do that don't even count as proper play features, but still allow the option. The idea of a shelf as well means that you can swap out the bricks almost as batteries, because the battery of the smart brick charges in 2 hours, lasts for 45 minutes. The battery, in my opinion, is okay. People are saying that it's not long enough, but it's 45 minutes of intense play for 2 hours of charge. So I think that's fair, especially if you think about the fact that no one's going to be zooming their spaceship around for 45 minutes solid. As a kid, I never did that. I don't know about you guys. One thing I did forget to mention with the smart brick is that it reacts to your movement. So with the spaceship, you can tilt your hand, move it around, and it will make noises, almost like a lightsaber. You know, when you swing it and it goes vroom, a spaceship will go vroom. It's cool. I like that. I didn't mention it. I should have mentioned it. It's a generally cool feature that I think is just a good thing. No real negatives, aside from all the negatives that I've spoken about the smart brick in general. But even then, with the charger, it can take 2 smart bricks at a time. So you can kind of rotate them out. If one brick dies, you place it with another one, charge the one that you was just using. When the new one dies, swap it with the third, and then you kind of have an infinite rotation going on. So I don't mind that too much. I think it's a decent charge, you know. Ideally, it would be longer. Ideally, it would charge quicker, but it's neither here nor there. Going back to the design, obviously, smart brick to not take away from the set, not have it be a part of the set, but have it as an optional thing. We've seen it so many times with sets that combine. Have the smart brick combine into these Star Wars sets. Have the smart brick combine into these Marvel and Ninjago sets. And that way you could have the features of a play feature as normal, but then the smart brick can be an add-on. I think that solves the main issue, but then thinking about the way that it interacts with figures. If they really need to use a QR code, if there's no way of just scanning the back of a figure, because I know some figures do have armor on the back, or it might get confused with the front and the back of a figure. You know, it's kind of understandable why they can't use just the printing on a figure normally. But give us tiles. Just 2x2 tiles, like they did with R2-D2, but not have them be part of the figure. Have them just be a part of the set that you can then scan with the smart brick, and then that unlocks the features, that unlocks the noises, that unlocks whatever actions they want to include. That'd be great. That way the figures don't get affected, and you still get that benefit of the interactivity. And you can also then add ways of hiding the smart brick still, and putting these tiles that come with the figures in the set, in the little sliding cockpit thing, or open up the flap and put the Darth Vader or the R2-D2 sticker in there. And that way you're also not limited to what specific figures can go where. Obviously, the final thing that I would do is improve the way that it interacts with the set. I think what they've got currently, where it adds sounds, adds a couple of lights, and adds interactivity amongst other smart bricks, is good. But can you imagine if the smart brick worked with integrated lighting, where a building would have lighting already inside of it, and then the smart brick activates it? But then you could also separately activate that lighting without the use of the smart brick. Or even like small motors or levers or wheels and moving things. You could have play features activated like normal, like you would without the smart brick. You know, you press a button or you pull a lever. But then you could also have it so the smart brick can almost remotely do that, where you just press the smart You could also have it where the smart brick does that remotely, where you just press the smart brick on the side of the building or scan the QR code, and then it activates that play feature without you having to automatically pull it and push it, or twist it, or pull it, or bop it. I think they're my main ideas for how I would have improved the smart brick. I'm interested in it. I think it's got potential. I think it's just lacking that. It takes too much away from a set and doesn't add enough. It takes away from the look of the figures, it takes away from the look of the build, and it takes away from the price. It massively devalues a set for most collectors and parents buying sets for their kids. And all it really adds is noise and sounds and that interactivity among other expensive smart brick based sets. If they had it where the sets were complete sets on their own without the smart brick, and then the smart brick could be integrated if you so wished, would be, I think, the ideal, where still advertise it as a smart brick set, still advertise it as a set that has smart brick compatibility, but sell the smart brick separately, and then let the sets be good sets. Focus on having good sets, especially with Marvel lately. I know they've done a little bit better lately, as you can see from the little display I've got going on behind me, but Marvel and DC I feel have been lacking, where this is going to be its own separate video, but there's been a lot of complaints among mechs and buildable figures, where LEGO have been giving us sets that we haven't really wanted or have been very confusing. For example, the Spider-Man cars. So changes there would be good, rather than constantly giving us a new X-Wing, give us some new ships, give us some locations from Star Wars. That is what people are really wanting, not random smart bricks. That's everything from this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.